So, I want to welcome everyone to some of our pioneering episodes. And today we have a very special person that I'm very excited to have on the show. Today we're talking about cancer awareness, and we're talking about when we're practitioners and we're caring for other people, what happens when we're caring for ourselves as well? How difficult are those shoes to fill when we're having other roles to fulfill? And what do our patients expect? What do our colleagues expect? And what is that process like? So it's a very humbling place to be to have this interview with you. And I'm very grateful for the time. So
Thank
I
you so much for
welcome
having
Dr.
me.
Fatima Bhabha.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor and a pleasure to have been invited by you. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this. And I hope we can share some good insights, pros, cons, how to deal, just an experience that people can learn from on the platform.
So you are a doctor and you've qualified from WITS, and you've done a diploma in anesthetics. You've done a diploma in pain and sedation. You have done a diploma in aesthetic medicine, and you have practiced as a mentor and a teacher in aesthetics now for over a decade. And you are
Mm-hmm.
a cancer survivor. And, you've come into our realm with such a lot of humility and time and availability and ease to speak about your process. And so I want to hear what it's like when you've just qualified from med school and you have all
Mm-hmm.
these dreams and ideas in your mind, and all of a sudden, these ideas cannot just formalize. So tell us what it's like, and when were you diagnosed, and what were you diagnosed with?
So it's actually nice that we're having this question just after that introduction, because people must be wondering why anesthetics and pain and sedation and then aesthetics. So I wanted to be an anesthesiologist. That was the plan. And hence, the diploma and then the pain and sedation. And I was in a reg post doing, what needs to be done. I was diagnosed in 2010, so just before the Soccer World Cup in South Africa started. It was around, I was writing exams for anesthetics. I was studying, how people who've been through this would understand is you work long hours. You've also got to study. You've also got to do the reg call, internship rounds, those kind of things. So you are generally tired. And I think for us as doctors, and I think this was for me as well, we very easily brush it aside. We go, we're tired. These symptoms not really meaning much, they wishy-washy all over the show. But for me, and it was a godsend, my mom basically looked at me one day and said, you look gray. You don't look yourself. Please, can you have yourself checked? And as we are when we're young, we think everything our mother tells us is more of an inconvenience. And like, God, I don't have time for this. It's always about time. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. So I went to the doctor who actually lived in a block. Brenta's clinic was across the road from where we used to live while we were studying. A no appointment with my textbook in hand because I was studying, and basically said, if the doctor can squeeze me in, please. I'm just sitting here to make my mother happy. So as soon as he can see me, I'll. Anyway, he did blood tests and the HB was terribly low. So it was 6. But I mean, I didn't have any symptoms. So all I had was fatigue. That's all I had. I had fatigue, and I kept putting it down to overworking, overstudying, no time, not enough sleep. And then that didn't make it. So we discussed it, the doctor and I, and we said, females menstruating, it could be a number of things. I was also iron deficient. So, we discussed it and we had a plan. However, my mom was like, no, I'm not happy. We're going somewhere else. Went to a second doctor. Eventually, they did a CT scan and we found this, big mass in my colon. So now I need to pause and tell you how that sort of unfolded. So now you can imagine I was 27, 26, 27 years old, 27. 27 years old, alone in the hospital. It's like 6 a.m. and the doctor walks in and he goes, like shakes you up and goes, I think you have cancer. And that is quite a lot to take in. you would assume that they would sit you down in, a better way of breaking the
Yes,
news.
yes,
So I urge all doctors who work in this sphere, just be a little bit more sensitive. I think that makes a big difference in just the person receiving the news. You know, I think it makes a
yeah,
big difference for them. And then it was just a whirlwind from there. So no exams, obviously. Exams were in like 2 weeks. And all of this
shucks.
time, I'm
Okay.
going through this, going, God, I'm so behind. I have this to learn. I've got that. I haven't covered this chapter. Exams are around the corner. I don't think I even internalized or accepted, or, you just think, oh, fine, okay. So that happened, had a bit of a breakdown. Parents came, my mom came and my sisters, and then my dad arrived and we had a chat and okay, fine. And for me, it was like, when can we need to get this done. I've got things to do. Like, I can't have this in my life. So I think as a medical doctor, you're so focused on work, career. And I think it comes also from at 27, your counterparts in other career paths like BComs, lawyers, they somewhere. You still in a red boat. You still thinking, God, now I must be sick. Now this is going to be holding me back, setting me back. I can't write now, and I have to wait 6 more months to write the same thing all over again. Like all those thoughts go through your mind. So for me, cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me. And it sounds a bit weird, but as we go through this, you'd understand why. So we went straight from the CT scan. Next thing was a colonoscopy, gastroscopy, the normal things. This was like a Wednesday, and then I had surgery on the Monday. And in a way, that was good because there wasn't that time to sit back and go, what's going to happen? You research, you Googled. But it's also bad because we know everything that can go wrong. So we know, we've learned it. We know what can go wrong. We know, what can happen. And I think that plays on our mind quite a lot. But for me, the surgery went well, thank God. Process was a bit daunting when you're on the other side, sleeping in ICU, nurses all around you, doctors, your whole perspective changes. So or for me, it has improved my patience with patients. Also, if they ask a lot of questions, I will take my time to answer because I have been there. And all you want is for someone to just explain it to you. Even if you are a medical doctor, you just want to be patient. You really just want the doctor to reassure you, to tell you that, A, B, C, and D, this is what you know already, but you need them to just say it again. You need them to reaffirm what you already know or don't know. I don't know if other medical people do this, but we always think the worst thing is going to happen to us. Like that 0.1% that's written in the textbook somewhere, that's the thing you will like hone in, focus. So for me, I was very grateful. The surgeon that I had he's an amazing person. So that was nice. He took the time out, he explained, he took out textbooks, showed you what's going to happen, what could possibly happen, what couldn't happen. And I must tell you, I learned so much from this man because I come from a family of medics. So both my sisters, both their husbands, and we are a very close-knit family. So when we went for an appointment, there were 10 people in the room, not just me, like everybody was there. And everyone was asking questions. When it came to the surgery, everyone was there and everyone was asking questions. And this man was so, I learned so much from him, and I tried to impart this to other people, is that he never got annoyed. He never said, I don't want to answer your questions. He never said only you or just the two of you or like what the patient and one other person. He would bring in chairs, make, space for everybody, answer everybody's questions. And then he would eventually look at you and go, do you have anything to ask me? Do you not understand? Um, that was a learning curve for me because coming from the government, we overworked. We also are we're on this hamster wheel. I don't have time. I have to do this. I don't have time. I have to do this. Stop asking me so many questions. Oh my God, I'm working in the government now. They just keep asking me questions. The whole family is here. Everyone's asking me questions. And it becomes you become a not nice human being because you don't have that empathy and that sympathy and the kindness that when you on the other side, you wanted, but you were
Mm-hmm.
not willing to give until you were in that situation. So it taught me a lot. And I think it taught my family a lot also, because, just the bedside manner of that doctor was so amazing. And then you realized what you were doing wrong all these years and what you expected from your doctor. And I think it's changed a lot for me because like I said, I'm more patient. I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm a human. I have those days when I'm like, oh my God, but it's changed a lot in me as a practitioner. So that was a very good thing that happened. After surgery, it was a 2-week break, and then I did chemo for a year. So that also puts you in perspective because we meet people and they'll go, "I'll never do chemo again," and you look at them and you think, "What's wrong with you? Why won't you do chemo again? It's going to help you. It's going to make you better. Like, what's wrong with you?"
Mm-hmm.
But having come from that and walked that path, you can understand why they're saying, "I'll never do it again." Like the first time I did it because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And now that I know what could possibly happen or not possibly happen, I'm going to make an informed decision. And we always quick to judge. We're like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with you? You must do it." Um, but now from having gone down that path, I understand what the patients are saying. And we just have to we need to put it out there and say, "Look, these are the pros, these are the cons. You've done this before. Now you decide what you want to do." Basically, we've got to move in that direction where the best we can do is give them all the information they need, and then they will
Now,
then decide.
yeah, so I think that when you're on the other side, it really does give you that full 360. And it's really refreshing to hear that your bedside manner changes when you're a patient, but often we don't get an opportunity to be patients. So when you hear somebody speak about just the tiniest little things that made a difference, I think that it can change the way you do medicine. It can change the way you interact with the patient. It can also change the way you communicate with the patient. I think in government it's extremely challenging because you just don't have the type of time or resources that often you can have in
Having said that,
private.
yes and no, because there are a lot of practitioners in private practice who do the same thing they would do as if they were in the government. There's no real distinction. In government, we have so many patients to see. In private, we have so much money to make. So the quicker I can get
Mm,
done with you, the quicker I can get on to the next person. And we're so programmed as medical doctors because being a practitioner is not only being a practitioner, you have to run a business as well at the end of the day. Fortunately, I mean, we have a Hippocratic oath, the best for the patient, but we also have families to feed. We've got to clothe people, we've got to clothe ourselves. So at the end of the day, it's also a business. So we also, it's a fine line. And having said that, patients times don't understand it. So if after 1 hour of talking to them and being as empathic and sympathetic as you can, you cut them short and you go, "Look, I have someone else to see." They get annoyed and they get upset. But it's a double-edged sword. You've tried your best, but you can't spend now the whole day with one person. You've got to also, see the next person. And I think patients need to also understand that. I feel in this new world that we live in, it's a life of instant gratification. So all things I learned 13 years ago, you implement, but and you go back into the motions and you say, "I have to be sympathetic. I want to be kinder. I want to change my bedside manner." But at the same time, we also have a business to run, and you also need to give them the best you can. They make their decisions, but they've got to understand that you've got another person coming. Life is fast paced. People are in a hurry. Dr. Google's very alive. That impacts on us as practitioners. It impacts what we can and cannot offer. But for me, the cancer was a very big eye opener, changed a lot of things. Also, you realize how important privacy in a consulting room. you wouldn't want their family members to see them because you wouldn't have wanted that for yourself. You want your privacy. You want to be closed off, even though they're in the same room as you. There are also some things that you want to be discussed with you privately, and we all have those patients where the whole family is with them, and the mother's there, the dad's there, the grandmother's there. But we also need to
Yes.
understand patients. You want your privacy, and we need to respect that. That is also a learning curve for me, that sometimes you don't want to share everything with everybody when it comes to your body, your space, those kind of things. So that was a big learning curve for me, and it was good. It wasn't
Yeah.
anything bad, but it was good. It
Mhm.
it sort of steered me in the right direction. My
Yeah.
career also got steered in another direction totally.
Yes.
Um,
So tell us a bit about it.
so
Yeah.
I took what was it called? Incapacitated leave, which you are allowed in the government, in any work actually. In any work environment, you are allowed to take incapacitated leave where you can be sick and you are allowed,
Yes.
that time. Every
Yes.
work environment is different. So that's in everyone's work contract. It will be stipulated how much of incapacitated leave you get. People need to also understand that your overtime is not covered in that. Different work, I think different jobs per se will have different clauses in the contract, but we should all be aware of life is unpredictable. Anything can happen. People probably will listen to this and think, oh my God, I haven't even thought that's never going to happen to me. So you don't read those fine print and, those things. We don't actually know. I'm sure if I asked a colleague tomorrow, like, what's your incapacitated leave? What happens if you get sick? They'll have no clue. They will be like,
Hmm.
I don't know. Like, you don't actually think that you'll get there. You don't actually think that you'll actually use your benefit. Um,
Hmm.
that is something that I think we should all be aware of. We need to know what we are allowed, what we're not allowed. So you also can navigate your treatment plan with ease. Like when you're talking to your doctor, you're making up your treatment plan. You know how long you can be off. You know how to schedule your appointments. You know what to do, what not to do. So that was nice. So I did my chemo. It was a 5 day, so it was a 3 week cycle. So 1 week, Monday to Friday, 8 to 4 would be chemo, and then 3 weeks off, and then the next week, the following, like after 3 weeks, you do chemo for a whole week again. So it's really hard. I think people who can do chemo for that long can actually survive it.
Yeah.
Emotionally, it's a
Yeah.
lot, right? So if I have to tell you, every single person that was in the chemo room with me is God rest their soul. Like, I'm the only survivor from that entire. So that is also a lot to take in. It's emotionally traumatic because you spend so much time with these people. You actually become good friends. You're
Mm.
spending a whole week, a month, like 8 to 4, 8 hours a day for 5 days in a month.
Shucks. Okay.
So it's a lot of time. You become good
Hmm.
friends. You share do's and don'ts, go home, do this, don't do that, eat this, eat that, those
Mm.
kind of things. So it makes you realize what is the word I'm using for? You realize how fleeting life is. In a blink of an eye, everything can be gone, and it teaches us to be grateful and your gratitude increases. So I came back to work. I started my reg, back at work. But as Murphy would have it, I had every side effect known to man. So anything that chemo could give you, I got. And then going back to work became harder because I had a proximal myopathy and a peripheral neuropathy. So intubating became hard because you can't do, that movement. Having
Yes.
said that, though, it has come back. It wasn't permanent. It has come back, but at that time, I was not able to do it.
Okay.
So resigned from anesthetics completely. I'd already done my DA and my diploma, so I would do a bit of private here and there. Um, but that also, it's erratic income. You've got your debit orders going off. You need to pay your car, your electricity, your insurance. And having been sick, your medical aid is like top priority, right? So that's the first thing you want to tick off at the end of every month. And if you've got erratic, I was still sick. I wasn't 100%. So, you wouldn't want to take on a list every week because you're not sure how you're going to be feeling. And lucky for me, I have two elder sisters who were already qualified, and they had already opened up, private practice and aesthetics. And they were like, you know what, come into the, like, we call it a family business. So come into the family business. And that's how aesthetics started. So, like, hence the chalk and cheese in the diplomas that that appear on my CV.
Yeah.
But also it was a change. It was a very big decision I needed to make, because specializing in anesthetics was like a lifelong dream. That's what I wanted to do. That was all I could, imagine. But obviously God had a bigger plan. Life changed, things changed. It took a long time to accept that that wasn't going to be what was going to happen. 13 years later, I still feel like I need to go back and finish what I started. But then life happens. Then, I got married, I have kids. So here we are. Having said that now, we all need to check our medical aids, see what they're paying for and what they're not paying for. Medical aids are not the
So
easiest
tell me
people in the
now,
world to.
yeah, in terms of having a whole year of chemo, what was your daily routine like, and what were you able to manage to do? Were you able to do anything that gave you a little bit of solace during that time? And you know,
And my sisters, and my brother-in-laws, they wouldn't. So you do chemo for a week, then you're sick for 2 weeks. So basically, all you do is throw up and have no energy, mouth ulcers, foot ulcers. Then you get better. So week one, chemo the whole week. So you wake up in the morning, you get dressed, you go to chemo. You come home by like 4:30, 4:45ish, depending on how long it took, whether there was setbacks, they were running late, whatever, latest like 6. And do the same thing every day for 5 days.
okay,
Be really, all the side effects, vomiting, nausea, loss of appetite, not being able to sleep. I think in that time, I also developed really bad anxiety. So I got generalized anxiety that I developed at the time. Signs of depression because, you feel really sorry for yourself, especially if you were high functioning, getting up, going to work, hanging out with friends, gymming. You're a high functioning individual, and now you're basically not bedridden, but homebound. That's all you do. I used to, though, my mom never let me mope around for a lot. So she would be like, okay, let's go to the mall. Let's, read a book, try different things. My friends would visit me often. I was very lucky like that. I had a good support structure. And hence, me with another group of women in Johannesburg, we have a cancer support sort of, it's not big, it's little, but we try what we can. Try and give, people support. If we can cook food for them, we send them meals, just to make it a bit easier because you are tired, you are unwell. Then you take 2 weeks to recover. But I was in the in the World Cup time, and my brother-in-law is soccer obsessed, so he would buy tickets to like random matches, random, if we could just get. And he would be like, "Okay, we're going," and I'd be like, "What if I vomit? What if I need the toilet? What if I need to sleep? It's so cold." And he would go, "It's okay. We'll take a brown paper bag. We'll take a hot water bottle. If you're tired, we leave. We don't have to sit." So that was good. But you're going to laugh if I tell you this. In my mind, I was still writing exams that December, right? I was still studying. I was like walking around with the files and the textbooks, and people would just look at me and go, "You are so messed up. Your priorities are like so messed up." It's denial. You don't realize your life is changing. You don't realize that it's going to take a lot longer than you think to get back into that. I prayed a lot. I spent a lot of time doing introspection, what my life had been up to that point. If I was happy, if I had to go, if my life ended, would I have been happy to leave the world? What would people have thought, if I had passed away, would they have had a good opinion of me? Was she a nice person? Was she a horrible human being? You sit and you think about these things. You reassess a lot that happened in your life, which is a good thing. Like, you don't want to wake up when you're 50 and have had no reason to change. If you were like a bad human, you had no reason
Mm-hmm.
to reassess your life. And you were like really nice and a pushover, no reason to reassess. So that was good.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I try to look for the good in things. So I was trying to look for the good in this. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, God can't give you more than you can handle. There must have been something that I needed to learn. But you wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. You wouldn't want, you know, and as practitioners, we overthink things, we overread things, we immediately go for the textbooks, we immediately go for, the facts, and then we'll start searching white papers and this and that, and oh my God, the survival rate is like this is going to happen, you're going to have abdominal leak, you're going to have this, you're going to have that. But at the end of the day, it's kind of, you do your best and God's going to do the rest kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I learned. I learned that we can't control everything because I was severely OCD. I still am to a point, I think. When it happened so long ago, the bad habits creep in pretty fast. Before you know it, they're all back there, all there, pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
You need to, sit back and reassess, and you need to go, okay, I'm heading. This is a slippery slope, and I'm like going down here fast. You need to like pull yourself back and remember what you were trying to fix in the first place.
Now
The
tell me, what's your journey of a mother now?
So when I was diagnosed, I was single, no kids, no
Mm,
attachments apart from my
mm,
immediate family, mom, dad,
mm,
sisters.
mm,
So your loss, or you don't feel that. How do I explain it? So about a year or so ago, I had a lump in my breast, and all these thoughts go through your mind. And if I tell you the thoughts that went through my mind this time round compared to the last time round were so different. Like then you were like, whatever happens, it's okay, kind of thing. Now it's like, I don't want to be sick. I don't want to have this. If I do, how to minimize the side effects, how to minimize the downtime, how to minimize being unwell. I can't let them see me like this. I can't, be unwell all the time where it impacts negatively on them. Because as a mom, you are their support structure. You are what they look to, and they need you all the time. And it's a completely different mindset. Even the emotions are completely different. Then you are afraid, but only for yourself. Oh, that's how I felt. And now you're afraid times like 7, because 10, 100, because being a mother is just different.
mm. Yeah. And tell me, when you were diagnosed and you were going through all of this treatment, did you ever think that you would ever get to this opportunity where
Oh heavens,
you would
no.
have a husband and you'd have children and you'd have these thoughts of what's going to happen to, did you ever think it
No.
was going to happen for you?
But I learned then not to think so far ahead.
Mm.
Live in the
A day at a
present, enjoy
time.
your moment. Yes. I learned then because, oh, I need to write exams. I'm going to be a specialist. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Nothing came to, none of that happened. A completely different route. I mean, I didn't ever want to be married. I didn't ever want to have kids. And then when I was diagnosed, I looked around and I thought, there would be like, there's no one. I mean, my sisters and my mom and my dad, they are my family, but it's not your own family. It's not your lineage, your legacy. Um, you have nothing to lose, basically. I have everything to lose now.
Mm.
So the mindset is different, and your zest for life now is, I mean, you eat, you healthier, you try and be, better, because you have other people around.
So I want to know, I always ask this question, by the way, even to patients that I see. What was your worst hospital meal?
So mine is actually not hospital food.
Yes.
Mine was green juice. Oh my God. I can't. I know it's good for you and it's got all.
Yes.
My mom used to make this green juice
Yes.
those many years
Yes.
ago. And I promise you, she would sit in front, and it was, I mean, I don't find green juice tasty by any stretch of the imagination. And now you've had chemo, you're having chemo, or you're unwell, and here you have someone bright and early, and this is what the person's bringing you, like bright and early in the morning, like, green juice. Never. I don't drink green juice. I don't touch green juice. I don't make green juice. I don't. No. And
And
asparagus.
and did you have any cravings? Did you think, oh, when I get better, this is the first thing I'm gonna do when I get out of here?
So there were lots of those things.
Well, you're allowed to. You're allowed to. Now tell us, what's your current health state and where are you in practice and how are you pacing yourself these days?
Goodness me. So, rest is apparently the most important thing. Exercising is very important, especially for colon CA, because I had colon cancer, and a
Okay.
diet is very good. So, I must tell you, I have days when I'm really good and I have days when I'm really bad. It really depends on the schedule. I have 4 kids, so my schedule is a bit hectic, but we try. So, I try and give my kids as well as myself a balanced meal. We don't eat takeout at all except on a weekend. Fridays, sometimes every Saturday night, but we do eat burgers, mostly homemade. Like I try and keep it. I don't eat freezer food because of the BPAs and all of that. I don't drink water from plastic bottles. So it's changed a lot for me. I try and avoid the microwave at all costs. Um, However, it's very hard to get my children to comply, but we try and avoid that. Even meat, I try and buy my meat once a week, my veggies kind of every day. Veggies that last a whole week for me make no sense in my head. Um, Try and, keep it organic if you can. That's changed a lot for me. I do a lot of cancer related charities. Cancer is on the rise, let me tell you. So 2 in 5 people that would have had cancer or be diagnosed with it. Breast Cancer Awareness Month we're in at the moment. It's one of
Mm-hmm.
the commonest forms and very aggressive. So most women die from breast CA. And any person that has cancer has a 70 to 80% chance of recurrence in a 15 to 20-year life cycle. And the second time it's more aggressive. So that is always at the back of your mind. Unfortunate. You try and forget. You do. Or not even forget. You live your life and you go in the motions and then something happens. And you go, oh my God, is it back? Oh my God, I have cancer. Oh my God. It's human. It's normal. People don't do that. There's something wrong with them. I am in remission. I have been, so it's 7 years now, because the first 5 years is when they check all the
That's
time.
fantastic news. Yeah.
I have a colonoscopy every year, the bane of my existence. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I try not to dwell in the past. I take what the good that came of it and try and use that going forward. But like I said, the bad habits creep in pretty quickly. When you're on that hamster wheel of life, they creep in very fast.
What do you have for us? Because most of us that are practitioners are unfortunately within the box of type A personalities, and we're doing our best, and error is not something that's within our personalities. You get a few people that fall with just slightly past that point and allow that flexibility, but for the most part we don't as a personality enjoy error. So what would you give us as advice to any practitioner given what you've gone through in life and where you're at right now?
Your health is something that nobody can. One of your greatest blessings and gifts. You should do your best to look after yourself. We shouldn't be as blasé. What you look at. So the way you investigate and look at your patients, you need to give yourself that same attention. Because we are very guilty of sweeping it aside. It's not important. It's, nothing's going to happen. It's a small thing. When I get time, I'll go and I'll check. And before we know it, 10 years have been passed. It's then too late and you've missed the boat. So I think we also need to practice what we preach. After 42 mammograms, your routine checks, your colonoscopies, spend time with your family. Live in the present, spend time with your family, have your plans, but remember God is the ultimate planner. You just need to it's very hard, especially for me because I'm seriously OCD. I'm seriously type A. I like to control everything. I have this personality, and most of us are like that. You want to control everything in your life and everybody else's lives around you.
You are a blessing. I really do think that you're an advocate for much more than just surviving cancer. You're an advocate for life. You're an advocate for medicine done well. You're an advocate for just doing your best. You're an advocate for healthy mums. You're an advocate for education. You're an advocate for a number of different things. And
We can't cheat death, right? It's coming for all
yeah,
of us, whether it's today, tomorrow, day after. It's going to inevitably happen. Concentrate on your quality of life. So it's the moment in between your life and when it goes. Quality of life. Even if you're doing one day at a time, 1 week at a time, you need to have the best quality, where I mean, appreciate the outdoors, appreciate your friends, make time for people, the little things, like you said, the basics. And my entire career changed. It was really hard, but I've made the best of what I got. And I must say, I think I'm one of the best in my sphere now. I've worked to get there. We shouldn't be afraid change that's going to come. I think that when we are diagnosed as practitioners, the change is more, we are more afraid of the change than we are of the disease and the process. We are afraid of what we're going to have to do in our lives because we never thought of it. We didn't plan for it. And that's what throws us off.
there is a humanity about being a practitioner, and there's a vocation, and we take it very seriously. But I would
So I
love for
think
you to just give our patients a little bit of a perspective of some days when their practitioner is just in that moment of needing care.
I think what our patients need to understand is that at the end of the day, we are not just healthcare practitioners. We are human beings. We are fathers, we are brothers, we are wives, we are mums. So as much as we are a healthcare professional at work, and now it's any time of the day because patients expect you to be accessible all the time, they need to understand that as they are living their life, so do we have to live our lives. We do get sick, we do get emotional. We sometimes want to call in sick, but we can't because who are we going to call ourselves? You do get that days where you are tired. I mean, for me, I had to eventually, they told me I'd never have kids. The chemo basically fries everything. And when I felt pregnant, I tell you, I called my oncologist and I was like, dude, pregnant. Patients also need to understand that it's not just cancer. So a doctor can also be suffering infertility. A doctor can also be suffering mental health issues. A doctor can also have a sick child. You can also have a puncture. You can also have a car accident. You can also, there's so many things that can also happen to us. But because of the personality type we are, we always put our patients first. So if you are not there on that one day, they've got to step up and say, they are always here. Something must have happened that they are not here today. I think patients need to understand that for the most part, and I'm sure you are like this, you never call in sick, you'll never miss an appointment, you'll never stand up a patient unless it is extremely important. And that comes with the territory of being a healthcare professional. And I pray and wish that patients around the world would just understand that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. I think that you've given us a lot of just some ideas about how we live and how we need to actually think about how we live throughout this entire conversation with you. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Full life. Appreciate everything that God's put out there for us to enjoy. Thank you so much. I must say, it was really a pleasure and an honor chatting to you. I hope we can share some insight with everyone around us. That would be the one thing I would pray for.
Well, thank you. I've covered starting up and how to turn your vision into a business. And in our future episodes, we look at leadership, we look at multi-practice success. Now, I'm grateful for you, and I would love to hear your ideas. What questions do you need answered? Please drop me a mail at behindasmile2@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you. And remember, you are heard, you are seen, and on this platform, you are invited. Let's make it happen together.